Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a fascinating analysis from Bharat News that takes a really hard look at a deeply ingrained cultural myth. We are going to unpack a belief that has literally shaped families for generations, and we'll see exactly how modern science is completely challenging it right down to a microscopic level. So let's dive in.
Now, to really grasp the science, we've got to understand the culture first. For generations in Indian society, there's this traditional saying that gets repeated over and over again. A son is the light of the lineage, and a daughter is someone else's wealth. And while that might just sound like an old proverb, the source material points out how this single sentence birthed a genuinely tragic mindset. Because families so desperately wanted a son, this supposed light of the lineage, it led to the grave societal sin of female feticide. Innocent daughters were, and honestly sometimes still are, eliminated before birth simply because of the heavy burden of a false tradition.
But guys, here is where this analysis takes a massive turn. There is a totally stark contrast between what society believes and what science has actually proven. Top global universities have made these historical, eye-opening revelations that completely dismantle this myth. The scientific reality? It is absolutely not the son who carries the true human lineage forward. It is, exclusively, the daughter. If you've spent your whole life believing that a son's son is the ultimate carrier of your family's biological legacy, well, the science we are about to look at is going to flip that misconception entirely on its head.
So let's look past those old societal expectations and actually unlock the genetics of lineage.
To wrap our heads around this, we need to talk about mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA for short. Now, most of our DNA is bundled up neatly inside the nucleus of our cells, but mtDNA, it's different. It is genetic material that's actually found outside the cell nucleus. And here is the absolute biological key to this entire explainer. mtDNA is passed exclusively from a mother to her offspring. The father does not pass this on at all. It is a direct, strictly female-led genetic lifeline.
Take a look at this number, 1,981. And no, that's not a year. According to the Bharat News analysis, scientists over at Cambridge University discovered that there are exactly 1,981 gene pairs sitting outside the nucleus, making up this mitochondrial DNA. It's a tiny but unbelievably vital piece of our genetic makeup. It essentially acts as this ancient biological fingerprint for all of humanity.
Okay, so how does this mtDNA actually travel down the family tree? It's kind of like a highly specific relay race. Step 1. A mother passes her mtDNA to all of her children. Both boys and girls get it. Step 2. When a son receives this mtDNA from his mom, he definitely gets it, but his genetic journey for this specific DNA completely stops with him. According to the absolute strict laws of biology, a male cannot pass this genetic thread on to his kids. It is literally a biological dead end. But check out step 3. When a daughter receives this mtDNA, she doesn't just hold on to it, she passes it on. Unbroken, unchanged, and totally unharmed, directly to the very next generation.
Which brings us to a pretty wild comparison in everyday family dynamics. Think about a grandson and a granddaughter. Because of exactly how mtDNA works, a grandson actually never carries his grandfather's old mitochondrial genes forward. That specific biological torch was dropped. But a granddaughter's genetics? She is genetically closest to her grandmother and her great-grandmother. The chain is entirely flawless. She literally embodies the living, breathing, biological lineage of the women who came before her.
And that brings us to what we call the unbroken chain of deep time.
Okay, let's zoom way back and follow this timeline, starting 200,000 years ago. In 2013, Oxford University revealed something incredible. All women in the world today share the mtDNA of a single female ancestor who lived in Africa roughly 200,000 years ago. Her genetic signature is literally still alive right now. Moving ahead to 10,000 years ago, a 2018 study by the Max Planck Institute clarified that over the last 10 millennia, this mtDNA has remained completely unchanged, just passed from mother to daughter over and over, preserving this biological heritage exactly as it was, leading us right up to the present day, where daughters continue to flawlessly carry this unbroken biological chain. We are talking about 200,000 years of natural, continuous progression driven entirely by females.
So who is the actual true lineage carrier? When you take these scientific facts and apply them to our modern social structures, the implications are just staggering.
Let's really break down the stark difference. People go absolutely crazy hoping for a son, calling on the light of the lineage, but what does a son actually carry forward? As the source notes, sons carry forward property, they might take over a family business, and sure, they carry forward a surname,
But think about it. Those are entirely human-made societal constructs. Daughters, on the other hand, carry forward your true genetic existence, your actual biological lineage. Because of this, the call to action is incredibly clear. Campaigns that emphasize the protection and education of daughters, things like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, well, they aren't just catchy social slogans. They are absolutely fundamental to protecting the true legacy of human existence.
And honestly, this leads to what is probably the most powerful takeaway from the source material. Female feticide is not just a legal sin, it is the destruction of our own lineage by our own hands. Just think about the immense weight of that statement for a second. By ending the life of a daughter because of some misplaced desire for a son to continue the line, a family is literally severing their only true biological link to the future. It's a profound irony, and a totally devastating one, that in the pursuit of preserving a legacy, the actual scientific carrier of that legacy is the one being destroyed.
Which leaves us with a pretty massive question to think about. Is it finally time to celebrate our daughters as the true, unbroken light of our lineage? Well, science has spoken loud and clear. That ancient myth has been totally debunked by genetics, by Cambridge, by Oxford, and by the Max Planck Institute. So the very next time you hear someone talking about a son being the sole carrier of the family name, I want you to remember that incredible 200,000-year journey of mitochondrial DNA. Remember who actually holds the biological torch. A daughter doesn't just join another family, she is the uninterrupted light of humanity itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.